Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of the Train Station. As always, I'm your host, A Train. And if you guys are new here, please check out all my other content and welcome in. I am a variety content streamer slash podcaster. I do sports. I do video games on Twitch, twitch.tv slash the A-Train95. I've done most recently I've done a food review on Crumble Cookie if you guys want to check that out. I do wrestling news, football news, basketball news. I talk about life in general. I do interviews. So I do a little bit of everything. So please check out the channel. Today we are going to be doing a mock draft with free agency in full effect and crazy stuff happening. We are going to jump into it. Unfortunately, I did not record my last mock draft, so we'll pretend that this is the first one that I'm doing. And yeah, we're going to do just the first round for this one. Later on, I might do rounds 2 and 3, but for now, we're just going to do round 1 and go from there. So the Chicago Bears on the clock. I would say that if they didn't have Justin Fields, or if they still had Justin Fields, this could be potentially a trade down spot for them. But since they don't have Justin Fields, they traded him away to the Pittsburgh Steelers. This is 100% a quarterback, as could the first 3 picks in the draft. Minnesota will also need a quarterback. And I will get into all of that later, but for now, I also didn't post my quarterback rankings, but that is also another conversation for another day. As of now, we're just going to treat the mock draft as it is. I'll get into quarterback rankings and all that later. But in my personal opinion, the only 2 quarterbacks worth taking in the first round, Jaden Daniels out of LSU, Michael Penix out of Washington. But again, another conversation for another day. Bears are on the clock, number 1. Quote unquote generational prospect in Caleb Williams. Lots to like about him. And it's the same with all these quarterbacks. There's a lot to like with these quarterbacks, and then there's a lot of downfalls to these quarterbacks. Not really going to get into those right now, but Caleb Williams, number 1 pick in the draft. Washington could go Drake May here, could go Jaden Daniels. They traded away their rookie last year. And Sam Howell, Drake May is kind of like him, but with Cliff Kingsbury in Washington as the offensive coordinator, they're going to want Jaden Daniels, which allows the Patriots to go Drake May. Arizona here then gets the best player in the draft, in my opinion, in Marvin Harrison. And this could potentially be a trade down spot for the Chargers, but with Harbaugh and company there, they like to run the ball. They're going to beef up that offensive line. They're going to go Joe Alt. Giants could very well trade down as well too. And before my computer decided to spaz out on me, I actually had them trading this pick, but I don't know if I'm going to do it this time around. Actually, I'll just continue to do the trade anyways. They trade with the Vikings. Where's the Giants? They get both 11 and 23, and we'll say it next year first. They give up 670 and 107. So then the Vikings are on the clock. They lost Kirk Cousins to the Atlanta Falcons in free agency. They traded with the Texans to move to potentially have ammo to move up. So they give up 11 and 23 to move up to 6. They're going to take J.J. McCarthy out of the University of Michigan. I know there's a lot of question marks surrounding J.J. McCarthy. He's jittery at times. He's not super accurate with the football at times. He's the biggest wild card in this in this draft as a prospect, but the Vikings take the risk. Tennessee very well could go Rome Odunze here. They could very well go Malik Nabers here, but I think they have to continue to build that offensive line. It's a very deep wide receiver class. This could also potentially be another trade down spot, but with Joe Alt already off the board, they're going to go Fashanu, continue to build that offensive line that was horrendous last year, one of the worst in the league. Atlanta, you have Kirk Cousins now, Drake London, Kyle Pitts, and then you took Bijan Robinson last year. So you're going to go ahead and you're going to take a defensive player. Now, usually defensive players come off the board much earlier, but this is such a loaded offensive draft. So Dallas Turner, the first defensive player off the board, he goes to Atlanta at number 8. Chicago has their original pick at 9. Again, this could be another potential trade down spot. And they could also go another receiver here. You did get Keenan Allen from the Chargers. You do have DJ Moore. But now you got your quarterback. Now you're going to go on the other side of the ball. You're going to go to the defensive side of the ball. You're going to go ahead and get Jared Verse, the edge out of Florida State, which leaves us to the Jets, who will most likely go offensive line to continue to protect not only Aaron Rodgers, but Zach Wilson or whoever the quarterback of the future is after Aaron Rodgers. And they're going to go with Talisi Fuagu. He's been linked to them the entire draft process. Don't overthink it. Get offensive line help. The Giants, this is where Malik Nabers or Rome Odunze comes off the board. I think Malik Nabers will be first. And then the Broncos here, they have so much dead cap that they really just need to focus on the draft. There's a lot they could do here, but they're going to go. It's too early, I think, for a quarterback, so a potential trade down here is very possible. But they're going to stick to their guns, and depending on what you have, Nate Wiggins, Quinyon Mitchell, or Terrion Arnold, all three could be considered the best corner in the draft. But they're going to take Terrion Arnold to pair him with Pat Surtain to give them a really nice cornerback duo of the future. The Raiders then, they're going to take some offensive line, maybe defense, especially with head coach Pierce there, but they're going to go and they're going to take J.C. Latham because of his versatility on the offensive line. Play tackle, guard, or center, can move them all around. The Saints, Cameron Jordan's not getting any younger. So you can take Latu Latu, have him learn behind Cameron Jordan. The Saints are a mess. They have a lot to fix, and getting an edge rusher for the future can help fix that. Defense could be very much the case here, as well as Rome Odunze. There's a lot of guys slipping here, but Brock Bowers still being here at 15 is absolutely criminal. So the Colts go ahead and take a pass-catching a great blocking tight end who can also catch. You can line him up in the slot, line him up on the outside. He reminds me a lot of Kyle Pitts. You can line him up anywhere, but I think he's a better blocker overall than Kyle Pitts. But yeah, you can line him up anywhere on the offense. You know, he can be used as an extra blocker on running downs. Seattle, they take the guy close to home and Troy Fautanu from Washington. Jacksonville then, again, Rome Odunze continues to fall, but they go Quinyon Mitchell to help the defense out, which leaves Rome Odunze to fall to the Bengals, which would be absolutely insane. T. Higgins is going to be on his way out. You find his cheap replacement in Rome Odunze. The Rams, they had the sudden retirement of Aaron Donald come out pretty much out of nowhere. I mean, I think we kind of expected it to happen soon, but I don't think we expected it to happen like that. So you're not going to be able to replace Aaron Donald, but you have to find a way to um, get production elsewhere that won't be Aaron Donald. And they beefed up the offensive line here in free agency to help keep Matthew Stafford upright. So I think they go Chop Robinson, the most athletic, and he's kind of like the J.J. McCarthy of the quarterback class. He's the biggest wild card. There's a lot that he has to work on, but he's a super freak athlete. The Steelers, the new look Steelers of Russell Wilson and Justin Fields, then go Armias Mims. They go tackle again for second draft in a row to continue to build up that offensive line. They want to run the ball with Najee Harris, but you're also trying to take pressure off of either Justin Fields or Russell Wilson, whoever their week one starting quarterback is or will be. The Dolphins need a lot. They're struggling, but their main goal, like a lot of these guys who are taking. Okay, so I don't know exactly when my mic cut out, but we're gonna redo the last couple of picks just so that we're up to date. So at 18, we got Roma Dunze with T. Higgins falling. With T. Higgins wanting out, they find a cheap replacement for him. Chop Robinson to try and find production for the recently retired Aaron Donald. Armias Mims to help out either Justin Fields, Russell Wilson, and they like to run the ball with Najee Harris. Jackson Powers Johnson can move over to guard and help the Dolphins. Guard's a big need for them. And then for the Eagles, the rich get richer. Nate Wiggins, arguably the best corner in the draft. To get him at 22 feels like a steal. And then the Giants are on the clock for the second time after trading with the Vikings. As the Vikings traded up, they already got Malik Neighbors, so maybe they double dip at receiver here, but there's still a lot of good corners on the board. They could also potentially go offensive line here. They got Brian Burns as well, and they gave him a bunch of money. There's a lot of things they could do with this second pick here. I'm really not even sure what they would do. I mean, quarterback is potentially in play here at 23. I know it sounds crazy, but maybe a guy like Michael Penix or Bo Nix is in play here at 23 so that they can get that fifth year because Daniel Jones is likely gone after this season. I don't think they do it, though. I think they're going to go with the safe pick, and at 23, they're going to go with Cooper DeJean out of Iowa. He can play corner. He can play safety. You can line him up anywhere in the back end, which would be a huge help, especially since they just lost Xavier McKinney. You can plug and play him there. The Cowboys, Tyrone Smith left. You need to find his replacement. Tyler Guyton has been their linked player the entire time. So don't overthink it. Dallas loves to overthink things. Don't overthink it. Just go and find the next guy to replace Tyrone Smith, and that's Tyler Guyton. Yeah. So I think another trade is going to happen. I don't know where it's going to be, but it's going to be one of these later picks. I have the Chargers trading with the Packers. So the Chargers trade back up into the first round. They give up 69-105 and a first rounder next year to move up to 25. Trade's been rejected. Great. Anyways, let's just try a bunch of stuff until it actually gets picked up. So let's see, 25. Let's give them 88-91 in a second next year for 37. 105 and 69. Let's see if that works. Bro, come on. I'm just trying to get the Packers to trade to the freaking Chargers, bro. Okay, let's try 37 and 69. Bro. Okay, fine. Let's do this. Let's do 25 and 41 for 37, 69 and 105. Okay, now that that worked, the Chargers trade back up. They took Joe Alt, and now they desperately need a receiver. And there's lots of guys that they could go here. Keon Coleman's in play here, but Brian Thomas Jr., Keon Coleman on the clock. I think that they go and they get Brian Thomas, which leads us to the Bucks. Defense definitely in play here. Either Johnny Newton or Byron Murphy is likely the selection. You re-signed Baker Mayfield. You re-signed Mike Evans. You re-signed a lot of your guys on defense. But also Darius Robinson could be into play here as well. Corner also a big need here for them. But I think they're gonna, and there's always a surprise pick into the back end of this first round. I'm gonna do one here, and I'm gonna give them Tyler Nubin, the safety out of Minnesota. He's a very solid safety. You can also put him into like the slot corner role. So that's kind of my surprise here the first round. They go safety Tyler Nubin. Arizona here on the clock. Again, this could be another potential trade down, especially since you got arguably the best player in the draft in Marvin Harrison. I'm just not really sure who they would really trade with here. They stick to their guns and they go Johnny Newton. So you get Marvin Harrison, you get Johnny Newton. The Bills here, definitely a wide receiver need here. Keon Coleman could be Adonai Mitchell. Could be Ladd McConkey. McConkey is getting a lot of hype to move up. Could be Troy Franklin as well. After the first three of Marvin Harrison, Malik Neighbors, and Rome Odunze, it's kind of a toss-up of and I guess you could throw Brian Thomas in there, but it's kind of a toss-up who guys would pick. I think they're going to go Ladd McConkey out of Georgia. They're definitely going wide receiver. The Lions, personally, in the way that the Lions draft, if there's a guy that starts to fall, they like to be aggressive, and you could see a trade up here, like in this area, if a guy starts to drop that they really like. But in this, they're gonna stick to their stick to their guns. They're gonna just stay here. Corner is definitely a big need for them, even though they had sort of addressed it in free agency as well. I think if Johnny Newton isn't the pick at 27, he's most definitely the pick at 29. Kool-Aid McKinstry could be the pick here as well. It makes perfect sense. He's definitely the Lions kind of player, but not really sure. They could go a lot of directions here. I don't even really know what they would do. I feel like they would go best player available at this point. Keon Coleman could also be in play. They need a big body receiver as well. There's a lot they could do here. But I'm gonna give them a big nasty player that they could slide into that offensive line. They're gonna go Graham Barton, the guard out of Duke. Just feels like a type of player that the Lions would get, and their offensive line is in need of a guard. So they slide him in there. He replaces Jonah Jackson. Boom. The Ravens 100% need a wide receiver. I don't know if it should be Keon Coleman or Adonai Mitchell here. Xavier Worthy could also be a guy, but we're going to go ahead and give them Keon Coleman, the wide receiver out of Florida State / Michigan State. Big body receiver. which then leads us to the San Francisco 49ers. I'm trying to, because I know a trade is going to happen on this back end. I just don't know where it's going to happen. I mean, I know I have it with the Chargers here, but I feel like another one would happen. But I guess for the sake of this, just the first mock draft. I'm sure we'll be doing more. We're going to stick and pick. They are going to go with an offensive lineman. Christian Haynes has been rumored to potentially be first rounder, as has Jordan Morgan. And we're going to go ahead and take that. Jordan Morgan is going to be a first rounder to the San Francisco 49ers. And then that leaves the Chiefs' obvious need at receiver, also at offensive line. But there could also be another surprise here because I know that they can't pay everybody on the defense. And there's rumors that it really is going to depend on what they do with L'Jarius Sneed. But let's say that they lose L'Jarius Sneed. They're obviously going to need to find a way to replace him. They're going to go ahead and take Kool-Aid McKinstry out of the University of Alabama. And that is my first round mock draft. Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, number 2. First 3 picks are quarterbacks. First 4 out of 6 are quarterbacks with Caleb Williams, Daniels, May, and McCarthy all going top 10. Cardinals snag arguably the best player in the draft with Marvin Harrison. And then Harbaugh gets some help on that offensive line and then trades back up later on with Green Bay to snag a receiver. Titans get help again. I feel like the Titans could be one of those teams that trades into one of these round or later here to snag a receiver potentially, but maybe they stay put. Atlanta gets help on defense. They're solid on offense. Now I think most of their draft picks should be on the defensive end. The Bears, again, they could potentially get another receiver here at 9, but you stick around, you get smart. You go with Jared Verse and Caleb Williams. You get one on each side of the ball to start your future. Jets help Aaron Rodgers. Giants finally get a playmaker on that side, which, I mean, they could stay here potentially at 6 and not trade with the Vikings, because the Vikings could potentially stay at 11 and still land McCarthy. But if I'm the Vikings, I don't risk it. I trade up. I get the guy I want to get. Giants get a playmaker finally. I can't tell you 3 receivers they have on their team. So they get a playmaker, and then they get help with Xavier McKinney's replacement. Terrion Arnold and Pat Surtain could be a very good corner duo going forward. Raiders, this might be a defensive pick, but I go with the safe pick here. This could also be this is more of a safe pick as well for the Saints. And then the next couple of picks are just best available. Brock Bowers, Troy Fautanu, Quinyon Mitchell, and Rome Odunze are all just the best available guys at that time. Chop Robinson to help try and find the replication for Aaron Donald, Amarius Mims, Jackson Powers Johnson, Nate Wiggins, Cooper DeJean Guyton, a trade up, and then Newman is kind of my surprise pick as well. Ladd McConkey could also fall into that surprise. Those are kind of my 2 surprises of the first round. Guys that are kind of projected like middle of the second that could sneak their way into the first. And then Jordan Morgan and Graham Barton are those guys as well. Keon Coleman goes to a much needed injection to the Ravens. And then with Hollywood Brown going to the Chiefs, I don't think wide receivers necessarily needs to be there. They go ahead and they find a replacement for L'Jarius Sneed, who I'm sure will be traded at some point. Whether it's for a second rounder during day 2 or a third during day 2, he'll get shipped off at some point. And so they find his replacement, and that is my first round. So in the comment section below, let me know what you guys think about my first mock draft. What do you guys agree with? What do you don't agree with? Did I get your team's need right, or did I get it wrong? Let me know in the comments below. And I will catch you guys in the next video. Peace.